Hi, I'm Kirsten, the Ectopic Pregnancy Support Podcast host. Thank you for listening, and I hope these stories and conversations bring you comfort and help you feel less alone. Enjoy this episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I have Amanda with me. Thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm truly so grateful for the opportunity to share my story on a platform that's been so helpful to me. So, Kristen, you were the first Instagram and profile I found about ectopic pregnancy, and you have the perfect handle for it because it's right there in the title. And yeah, so I'm very grateful to be here.
I'm glad you're here as well. And I'm glad to hear that you thought my Instagram was helpful. So
Oh, yeah.
my goal all along. So I love to hear that.
Yeah, I literally, it was late at night and it was after my first ectopic and I was just searching like who's got a story like mine, and I found your platform and it was just immediately helpful. So I know I'm not the only one that would say the same thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And, this touches so many women, and unfortunately, it's just not talked about
Yes.
at the capacity where it should.
Agreed. It's not at all.
Mm-mm.
No way.
No. So you've had 2 ectopic pregnancies
Mhm.
and a missed miscarriage.
Yes.
Where do you want to start with your story?
Well, I'm such a I love stories, so I'll start this one. I wish was a little different, obviously, but I'll start from the kind of the beginning. So, um, Nick and I, my husband and I, have been trying to get pregnant since January of 2023. And at first, we just started like, okay, let's just see what happens. We're not going to track anything, just leave it open-handed. And we found we weren't getting pregnant, which I'm just going to say this, that if you are using coconut oil at all in the mix, don't, because it stops the sperm from getting to the egg and it like prevented
Okay.
us from getting pregnant. Yeah, it was shocking. It just
Wow.
I know. And I wouldn't have gathered that until a friend told me, hey, I've been using this too, and found out it's not helping. It's hurting. So I'm like, okay. So we switched. Um,
Wow.
I know.
I've never heard that before. So good
Yeah.
PSA.
Yes. Pro tip. I've got a few of them for this whole
Yeah.
story. So that's one of them. Don't use coconut oil if you're trying to conceive. So, um, yeah. And actually we had some friends who said, you should try pre-seed lube. Like it actually helps to like foster a good environment for conceiving and whatnot. And we use that right away. So once we were told, we're told about it by multiple friends.
Mm-hmm.
So we used it, and then like 3 months later, we got pregnant, and we were so elated, and just felt that, in that moment when you get that positive pregnancy test, like you're simultaneously shocked, can't believe it happened, and simultaneously like my whole life has changed. Like I in the most beautiful way, I saw my life flash before my eyes, like the rest of my life, and was like, this is going to change everything, and I'm so happy. um Ran to the store, got another pregnancy test because I just couldn't believe it. I'm sure every female does that, and
Yeah.
it was just it was the best. And all was good and great until we actually had sex. We hadn't had done it in that time, but at one point I bled when we
Oh.
had it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, something must be wrong. Or why is this happening? I guess I wasn't really going to the worst case scenario at that point. So I was with a midwifery group at that point and called them, and they said, you know what? Let's just get you in to make sure everything's good. And I remember going into the office the next day, and the form asked a bunch of questions, but it asked like, how many miscarriages have you had? And I had this feeling of like, I'm gonna have a number on that line one day. Like it was very odd. I pushed it down. I didn't really think about it too much, but I just had this feeling like this is gonna be part of my story. So we went in for the ultrasound and everything looked good. I was like kind of a week behind, but they were like, oh, everything's there. Even we can see a heartbeat. And I go, where? And I saw the heartbeat and was
Wow.
just burst into tears
Yeah.
because it was beautiful, yet so reassuring that all was good. And then I think it was like a week later or whatnot that I started bleeding more heavily and knew I was losing the baby and was just like, this, you never think it's going to happen to you. Like, you, even with thoughts or concerns and people around you, just never think. And they gave me we went in for an ultrasound and they said, I'm sorry. And in that moment, I just wanted to disappear. Like, I just wanted to put all my clothes back on and just go away with Nick and disappear and not be where I was. And it was just yeah, like
Yeah.
one of the worst
Like,
feelings.
yeah. When you saw your positive test, you thought you just, your whole life changed.
Yeah,
Like everything that you thought your future was going to be, it just flopped because you were thinking of a family in your
yeah,
future. And then I'm sure the same thing happened when you got that news that, again, your whole world changed back to where it was. It's a unexplainable feeling to
it
have.
is. It is. Like, you don't really feel and realize the full ramifications of it until you've been in it. It's indescribable, like you
Mhm.
said. So they gave me options to like how to go through this loss physically and decided to, I said, I'm going to try naturally. And this is just a PSA if anyone's going through this, like going in the shower when you feel like it's going to happen is like the best thing. Like we call the midwifery group when cramps started to intensify one night and they're like, get in the shower, get in a bath, you know. And then I felt this urge to actually get out after a while and sit on the toilet. And then that's when I lost the baby. And it was just like, so many mixed feelings with that because it's there and you just can't like help get it out. You can't help. And it's just, I mean, so many things I could say just about that moment of my journey. And
Yeah.
it's, it's the worst for someone who, and I believe when a woman gets pregnant, they are a mom. Immediately they are a mother. And so when your child is there and you can't do anything to help them, it's just,
Yeah.
it's devastating.
It's devastating, and you can't help but feel like you did this. You did something wrong.
Yeah.
And
And that you
yeah,
would do anything to make it right, anything to make,
right.
you can't, there's nothing you
Right.
can do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've always been very type A. I want to be in control of things. And with that type of situation and, what we're about to talk about, ectopics, there's nothing you can do. You can't control anything. You can't help. You like that is such an awful feeling. And in this moment that you're describing, to visually see the loss of your baby is unimaginable. You
Yes.
just would never think again like this was going to happen to me.
Yes, totally. And that you have to just, like you said, like visibly see it, go through it. I mean, nothing can prepare you for that. Nothing.
Mhm.
Um,
I'm
so
sorry that you had
yeah,
to go through that
thank
and
you.
see it. And,
Yeah.
it's just something that you wouldn't want anyone to experience.
Oh, I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
Mm.
Anyone that approaches me because they know of my story and says that I'm going through this, I said, I literally wish you were not. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So, Nick and I, my husband and I like love therapy. We've been in it and are in it. And that was really helpful afterwards. So as we processed moving forward, we were like, we definitely want to try again. I felt it was the most honoring to my first to be like, let's try this again. Let's keep building our family. So after I healed a little bit, after like a month or two, we tried again. And it took until May of 2024 that I got pregnant. And I was elated, so happy. My husband was fearful, like, oh no, what's going to happen? Because he's more like worst case scenario kind of person. I'm like, oh, I'm more optimistic.
Mhm.
So When we found out, it was a Monday, it was Memorial Day. And then we told some friends and family that day because just be praying. And then 3 days later, I started bleeding. And it
Oh,
was right after I just had a very stressful meeting at work. And it was like one of the worst points of my career at that job. And I walked out and I had to go to the bathroom and I wiped and there was blood. And I just I knew it was another loss. So I called my midwifery group and they said, you've got to go get your betas checked. Let's see where you're at. And they just assumed another miscarriage because of what I'd been through.
mhm.
So I don't think they really tracked anything. They were just like, we'll let you pass naturally because you did so with the first one, just
Mhm.
keep us in touch, keep in touch. So they said, get your betas done a week later, but I was going out of town. So they said, oh, we don't want this to ruin your vacation over the weekend. Just get it done the following Monday. So it'd be like over a week later.
Wow.
Come back from the trip. Yeah. So if you know what's coming, you're like, this is bad. Come back from the trip on Monday, get my betas done. They had increased. And we're like, what is going on? So we called the midwifery group and they said, come in, let's talk. They actually thought that I had passed, since so much time had passed, they were like, you may have passed the baby and gotten pregnant again. And I'm
Oh,
like, is that possible? Like, and they said, very unlikely, but it's possible. And we don't want to move forward with anything unless we make sure this is actually what's going on. Because I had no pain, no other symptoms besides I bled and then I kind of like slowed down in my bleeding. So they said, let's check an ultrasound. There was nothing there. So they were also thinking my uterine lining was so thick, they were like, you might be pregnant. You might be ready to be everything forming, which was just like looking back, I'm like, how is that even possible? But I
yeah.
love that they were covering all their bases.
Mhm.
So when they looked in with the internal ultrasound, they said it's possible that you have some pregnancy tissue remaining in your uterus and we got to get it out because it might cause an infection. So I said, and with the moment they said this could be another pregnancy, my husband and I were like, well, no, we're not doing anything until you're absolutely sure.
Mhm.
So the person that was helping was like, I'm nervous to have you keep waiting though. So, because I don't know what's going on. So he said,
Right.
we'll give you over the weekend to decide. We'll do 2 more betas and then we'll go from there. And that, because then we want to do a DNS and get everything out.
Mhm.
So, and a DNS is, I'm sure other pockets talk about, but like go in there and just they remove all the tissue and you don't have to go under, you're just kind of under like a light drug and it's just like suctioning it out. Not comfortable at all, but so my betas only had gone up like 3
Wow.
after like the weekend. So we're like, clearly this is not a viable pregnancy. Something is wrong. Cause my beta should have been through the roof like it was with
Right.
my first.
And there
So we
was
went on,
no mention of ectopic throughout all of this?
no,
Okay.
not that I recall, like in,
Mhm.
grief brain, you're kind of like, I can't remember many things,
Yeah,
but
totally.
I don't remember it. I don't remember it. They were really focusing on, could this be another pregnancy or is there just pregnancy tissue in your uterus?
Mhm.
So they did the DNS on Monday and very uncomfortable. I was so tired afterwards and just grieving like crazy. It was the last thing I wanted to do, obviously. They called me Tuesday morning and said there was no pregnancy tissue in your uterus. This is ectopic.
Okay.
Then I heard it.
Got it. And did
And
you know what that was at the time?
so at the time I felt I've never heard this before. Then looking back, I had a friend who had an ectopic years ago and I just like totally forgot about it.
Yeah.
So it felt like very new information to my husband and I of like, what in the world does this actually mean? And you think, and obviously, as many of us know, it's unknown location, but many times it's in the tube. So you just, you don't know.
Yeah.
So because I was with the midwifery group, they said you need to go to the hospital and get methotrexate, which this is my other pro tip.
Mhm.
If you've had any loss, even one, my recommendation is get to a specialist because they can walk you through anything right in the office. And because it was the midwifery group, they didn't have the equipment, the tools, the shots of methotrexate to help me right then and there. So because I was admitted to the hospital, the bill was insane. Like it was so expensive to go there. So that's just a side thing.
Yeah. That's
Um,
another great PSA.
yeah, yes, yeah. So I was freaking out because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is ectopic. What does this mean? What's going to happen? Get to the hospital. It took forever to get the shot. And I called my friend who at that time had had 3 pregnancies, all ectopic,
Oh, wow.
all of them. And I said, you got to tell me what to do, what's going on. And she kind of like what we talked about before we even started this is like, we're grateful we all have each other, but we wish we didn't like
Yeah.
have to be connected in this way.
Yeah.
So she was really helpful of like, when you get the shot in your butt, because is where I chose to get it, like have Nick massage you there because it feels like it like spreads you out and the injection's not as painful. So like all these things I'm like taking in, yet also like freaking out, like what is going on.
Yeah.
Um,
That
and I
was
got,
nice that she was able to give you that tip because, you know, a lot of the time we don't even know what to expect or what's going on or how this should feel and how that should feel. So,
yes,
you know, that's great that you had someone that experienced it.
yes, I was so grateful. And it's a chemotherapy drug. Like
Yeah.
it's no joke. Like you're getting a very small, much smaller dose than someone who's cancer. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like this thing is going in your body when you were just elated that you were pregnant, and now you're worried because what's going to happen to me? Like, why? What's going on? Where is this pregnancy? Is this one shot going to do it? And you just have so many questions. It's
So
unbelievable.
many
So,
questions.
yes.
Did they give you an option for where to get the injection?
hmm
Okay.
I can't even remember the other spot because my friend recommended the butt. She was like,
Mm-hmm.
just get it there. Is it the arms? Is that the other spot?
Yeah, I got them in my arms. I think I've heard hips too, which,
Mm,
you know, maybe that's also the butt, but
yeah.
um yeah, they gave me a choice, but I know some people don't get the choice.
Yeah. Yeah. They definitely gave me a choice. And they come in with hazmat suits on, essentially. So
Mhm.
you're just like, you talk about feeling like, what's wrong with me? I feel like I'm to blame. Like you just feel like such like a spotlight is on you. It's just, and I'm not surrounded by the people. I have my own room, but like,
Mhm.
and like they told us, you guys can't kiss for like a week. You get a double flush after you get the shot. Um, all of these precautions because I think they gave us like the same thing that a cancer patient would receive. So they
Mhm.
went to the extremes of like you can't do these things for a while.
Yeah, it took me a while, I don't know, maybe a week or so to realize the severity of methotrexate. You know, I just at the time I thought it was just what was used for
Yep.
medication to
Mhm.
dissolve the pregnancy. But then as I did my research and talked to other women and found out it's a chemo drug and just how harsh of a drug it is,
Yep.
it freaked me out. I thought,
Totally.
Holy cow, what did I just put into my body?"
Right. Right. And how many shots did you need
I
to
just
receive?
needed one,
Good.
thankfully. Yeah, my
Yes.
numbers were really low, so I think that's why the one worked for me.
Yes. Good.
How many did
That's
you have with the first?
with the first I had to have 2 shots because it
Okay.
was I can't remember the days. You probably know better than I do talking to so many women about this, but like there's a certain number of days and they check it, they will elevate, then you got to check it again. And
Mhm.
then if they go down, then you know if you need, then you're good. But
Yeah,
mine were around the same. They didn't drop.
okay.
So I needed to go back in the hospital again, big bill for that and get
Mhm.
another shot and was just praying like, please, not another one. Like I do not want to go through this again. And thankfully I only needed the 2.
Good.
So, and at that time, you know, you people are still going through life.
Mhm.
And my job was super stressful. We had just purchased our first home. And I didn't see my numbers come down where we were like, phew, we're in the clear until we'd done our walkthrough of our first home. Like,
Oh, wow.
so it's just like these mixed emotions. Like we're standing in the driveway of this home being like, oh, we're so thankful for this new thing. And yet how devastating we can't bring a baby into this home. It's just was like such a dichotomy that I hate it. I really hated that.
Yeah. Did your job allow you some time off?
Yes, they
Oh.
they not like in an official way, but my boss, he was incredible and is incredible. And he said, take all the time you need. Like whatever you need, just do it.
Mhm.
But I'm such a, you said you're type A, like I'm so type A too. So I'm like, I've got to get back to work. I got to do these things. And I just try to strike a balance of taking the time I needed. Um, but also being like, I've got to do this other thing that people are dependent on me for. So, and to be fully transparent with this too, I personally did not fully understand grief until we had another loss. Like
Okay.
I was doing the best that I could and I was processing and whatnot. And like I did not tap into it until the third came. So had the second shot, had a little bit of time off, had 3 months where couldn't try, had to be careful with being in the sun, couldn't have sex.
Mhm.
Um, like always because of the methotrexate and the
Yeah.
loss itself. So, you know, that that's your whole summer and season of, a piece of your season just gone, just
Yeah.
completely gone.
Completely gone. And, for me, when I got methotrexate, I learned that day that we couldn't try again for 3 months. And I knew, I'm always like just thinking ahead and want to plan. And again, type
Yes.
A.
Yeah.
uh, I knew in my heart that I wanted to try right away. And it was so hard for me to be told you can't try for 3 months. Again, there's that control
Yes.
aspect that is taken from you. And
Yes.
those 3 months felt like a full year.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what I felt too? It's not only like the time frame, but it's the choice. You have no choice in the matter because it's just taken from you. This freedom of like any piece of it is just gone.
Mhm.
And it does feel like an eternity. You're thinking this whole plan that I have has been disrupted and what's going to happen. And plus, I'm 35. Like at the time I was 34. And I'm like, we feel like we're on this clock of like we've got to figure this out. And 3 months is just like gold to you. Like so much could happen in 3 months. And it's
Yeah.
just you can't do a single thing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. It's completely taken away from you.
Mm,
And during that time as well, I obviously did all sorts of research, Googled so many things, and, fertility after an ectopic, fertility after methotrexate. And of course, there's positive stories, but there's also negative stories on it changing your body. And there's just all sorts of things that I was trying to wrap my head around during those 3 months. And of course, I was scaring myself more. Yeah, you just go down this rabbit hole and it just feels like it goes on and on and on.
yes. Yeah. And added to it to all of that, the unknown
Mhm.
that you alluded to of like, is this going to happen for me and my husband? Are we going to be able to have a baby? Like your whole vision just shifts of like, oh, I might be going down this path instead.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we had the 3 months. Through all that, I didn't find out till later that ectopic pregnancies, your chances of anxiety and depression are like through the roof.
Yeah.
Like they just, so I was feeling all these things and not holding it forward and saying, I'm feeling anxious and I'm feeling depressed. I just thought it was my job. And much of it was, but then you add on two losses and one of them being ectopic and I was a mess. I was an absolute mess. To
Rightfully
the
so.
point, yeah, thank
You
you.
went through a lot.
Yeah, thank you. And to the point where I debated quitting my job, definitely felt it was necessary, went on leave because my boss is amazing, and throughout that time realized I cannot continue in this career. Like I cannot go on because in my aside from the job itself, I thought and asked myself, can I actually carry a healthy pregnancy with this much stress? And
Mhm.
I said, no, I cannot.
Mhm.
So,
It
it
puts a lot
was,
of things in perspective when you go
yes,
through loss like this, or even just a big life change, personal change. So much is put in perspective, and it makes you figure out what should change in your life
yes,
that you can control.
totally. And my husband and I it came to the last minute where I had to decide, am I leaving my job or not? And my husband saw what it was doing to me, even the thought of going back. And he said, this is not worth it. And our number one goal, aside from personal core values of our faith and whatnot, like for this life, is that we would raise a family.
Mhm.
So nothing else matters besides having a healthy baby right now to us. Like we've given up trips, we're saving money, we're paying medical bills, we're not replacing my car, I cut my salary in half, getting a part-time job, like all this stuff because of this one goal. And it's just you'll do, as a mom, as a dad, as you want it, you'll do anything for your kids, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so at the end of the 3 months of the methotrexate for my first ectopic, I started going to a specialist within the same medical group that I'm with. And gave us some options of like blood work, HSG, and something else that I honestly can't remember. And we said, what's going to be the most effective thing? And they said, you need to get an HSG. We need to see if we put dye in your uterus and fallopian tubes, if everything flows the way that it should, and there's nothing wrong with your tubes. Because most times, like we said, ectopics could be stuck in the tubes.
Yes.
So at the end of September of 24, I did an HSG and everything was normal to the point where the doctor was like, go home and try to have a baby. And I'm like, will do. I will definitely go home and try to have a baby. So, and I was ovulating the next day. And we just got like our 3 months had just ended with the methotrexate. And like I said, I love stories. So I'm like, oh, this would be the perfect story if we get pregnant after this. So, and I don't know if other women have said this on the podcast. I've listened to some, but not all. You're 30% more fertile after an HSG, is what I've
Oh,
heard.
really?
Yes. Yes. We
Oh,
were told it
no, I
by
have not
multiple.
heard that.
Isn't that crazy? Like multiple sources have told us 30% more fertile for the next 3 months after an HSG. So we're
Okay.
like, we got to utilize these 3 months.
Yeah.
So let's get working.
Let's do it.
Yes. Yes. So it wasn't until that was the end of September. It was late October. I got pregnant, found out November 11th. And again, I was elated. Nick was so fearful because of everything.
Mhm.
And I was thinking, this is the best redemptive story. I just left my career for this. I sacrificed so much. We did the medical work we were told to do. And 3 days later, I started to bleed. And it was, and this one felt very different. My numbers were higher. I was in physical pain. It was more blood. And I was like, okay, this is more serious.
Mhm.
They got us in and I was, they were tracking us immediately. Every other day, you got to get your betas checked to make sure, are they going down or are they rising? And mine just kept rising to the point where one day they doubled. And I was like, is this is this like a turnaround story? Like, is this a miracle? Like, are
Mhm.
we okay? And when were like, okay, we're gonna take these numbers and go in for an ultrasound, went in, I am bleeding. Like I am for sure bleeding. And we just walked in the office just to hear what they say. And they said, I'm sorry right away. Like, didn't even because they said, just based on your numbers alone, this is not good. And the fact that you're bleeding.
Oh.
So yeah. Oh, no.
And so based on the numbers, even though they doubled, they said based on your numbers. Okay.
Because of where I was at in the pregnancy, the numbers should be
Oh,
way higher than they
okay.
were. Like
Okay.
I was at like 1200 where they should have been like 10,000. Like
Okay.
it should have just been way more than that.
Mhm.
So I wish I had known that before I got hopeful seeing the numbers double. So that's also like a good note of like kind of ask as many questions as possible, including where should my numbers be right now? Like based
Mhm.
on ovulation when I got pregnant, where should I be? Because I would have known right away, even though they doubled, it's not good.
Yeah. I think they have charts
Oh,
online
good.
somewhere, on a credible site that
Mhm.
show, 4 to 7 weeks, your numbers should range within here. 7 to 12 range. So you know, it's a good note to check when you do
Yes,
get HCGs.
I agree. Totally agree. So they did an ultrasound because they were like hopeful and wanting to find where the pregnancy was, where the baby was. And they went in with an internal ultrasound and wasn't seeing anything. And our biggest prayer was like, please let them find where it is because that will give us at least a huge answer to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So she's looking and stopped to answer some of my questions. And little did I know, my husband was beside me and he's praying. Like he's just like, please let them find where this pregnancy is.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, you know what? Let me look one more time. And she swoops way over. Like I feel this. She swoops
Oh
way
yeah.
over and finds the pregnancy in my left fallopian tube.
Oh wow.
And I was like, again, equally devastated, yet so grateful that we now know something is going on with my left tube. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
actually at the time I didn't put those pieces together, but I'm like, this is not good that it was in my left tube. And it looked like a little small dot with like a ray around it. So it looked like a sun, and which is very interesting because we actually named the baby Sunny like before this even happened. So it was like, whew, it was,
Wow.
yeah, like a lot of like tears and like
Yeah.
bonding with the baby. Because, with women who have ectopics, they don't have things to bond to except like a pregnancy test. And if that, they probably have nothing else. So, like, any little thing that you get, like an ultrasound, and you actually find the baby, or just like think music that's around during that time, or like I remember dancing. I love Zumba, and there was one song I danced to just on that Tuesday right before we found out, and I'm like, this is my song with my baby. So it was just like I like hold on to these things along the way, just
Mm-hmm.
as tangible reminders of them.
Totally. And I think that's why we purchase things in remembrance and in honor of them, because we don't have that tangible thing. I know um, someone that I recently did an episode with, and she had surgery and got all these photos of her baby in her tube. And so
Wow.
she keeps that on her phone as like that tangible thing or picture, just so that it's like a remembering that she is a mom, like she did carry a baby.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Just like the pieces of the story that you're just like, I'll take anything that I can get
Yep.
to hold them because you just
Yep.
love them so much. You love them so much.
You do.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
do. Well,
Mhm.
I am incredibly sorry that you had the two, but also
Yeah.
had a miscarriage. It's
Yeah.
again unexplainable.
Yes.
And I only had the one, and
Mhm.
I felt like that was a lot more than I could even um, go through. And so
Yes.
I can't imagine three.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to you. I
Yeah.
just,
Thank
you
you.
gotta be so strong. And
Uh,
the fact that you're speaking with me, and, you're going to have surgery soon, and
mhm.
we can get into that a little bit too. But,
Mhm.
you know, you are still in the thick of it and going through the emotions. So you're just so brave to speak out about it.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. Um, you don't feel strong in it and you don't feel brave, but to hear that from someone means a lot. So I really appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you. Someone who understands. Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, we were walking through. Oh, so when they found the baby in my left tube, they immediately started talking about IVF. And I'm like, this is not the time or the place to talk about IVF. Like
No.
I so need to grieve and process because I think this specialist, I think, was using it as like, you've not lost hope. You can have a baby. I'm like, this is not how I want to, like, at least for right now. Like, and I want to process exactly what just happened and what we're going through and what this all means. So they they offered me to actually take 2 shots of methotrexate right then and there because like they said, well, with your first ectopic, you needed 2. So it's very likely you're going to need 2 again, if not maybe even a third. And I'm like, what? So I was just like, again, I'm an optimist. So I'm like, let's just do 1, especially because this is a powerful drug. And I'm like, let's just start with 1. Long story short, needed to get another one. And I was actually feeling way more pain. And I remember telling, oh, this was actually before, but I've always felt it in my left. Like before I even got the ultrasound, I remember turning to Nick one night and being like, if this is ectopic, it is definitely in my left tube. So when my numbers kept rising, even after the first shot, I was like, I'm nervous that my tube's going to rupture. And I just, my heart goes out to women who've had a tube rupture and had to go to the hospital. I mean, I've heard stories even on your platform of that. And oh, it's just,
I know. I know.
ache
Some
for
women
them.
just have collapsed from pain. It's so sad.
Yeah. And people who are not knowledgeable of this, they don't even realize it's life-threatening. Like women, if we didn't have this modern medicine, we would die. We could literally die from this. So I was very nervous that something worse was going to happen. And one night after my second shot, after my third, because I had to go in another shot. My cramps got really bad. So we called the specialist. It was late at night and we're like, we're nervous. Something's going to happen. And they went through all the questions, all the symptoms. They were very calm. And they said, honestly, you're probably like constipated. And which also it's around the same area. So like obviously would make you nervous. So this is my other pro tip that if you are constipated during this time, take Colace, which is a stool softener that doesn't cause cramping where like other ones can cause it.
Okay.
So that really helped. And so much so that the next day I passed more and didn't feel cramping. So it was like, phew. Because the last thing you want to do is think the worst case scenario, right? You want to like eliminate all of that as much as possible. So yeah, that was very helpful. So once the 3 months had passed, we met up with a specialist again and just felt like they were, yeah, we could try this thing. Yeah, we could do this. We definitely want to do this thing. But they weren't really like, we have this plan and we are going to fight for you to figure this out. So that same week, 2 friends recommended I switch to a different fertility specialist, which I will name CNY Fertility. So if you're in New York, like cannot recommend them enough. They're incredible. Like in this one friend who recommended CNY is a PA of an OB surgeon. And she's like, you need to get another HSG. You had another ectopic, so you need to get another HSG. And this other, my former specialist was like, oh, it'll be fine. You don't need another one. We already did one. When I switched to CNY, the first thing they said, we are getting you another HSG. And that is when they found that my left tube is diseased and blocked and needs to be removed. Like you can literally see on the HSG, like my right tube, I'm reflecting back, but my right tube is like perfect. You can see the whole thing. It's good to go. Then they moved to my left and they were silent. And I was like, if you found something in my left tube, I'm not surprised. And you could see that the dye is like pooling at the bottom and it's just like stuck there and it's not going to go through. Therefore, the likelihood of an embryo going through is not going to work. So I was completely shocked, yet simultaneously grateful for an answer. Again, that's the theme of all this.
When was it that you got the second HSG?
The second HSG was, hold on, I got notes here too. So when was it? It was recently because it was like April of this year. Or March. If my husband here, he's so good with dates, but it was basically like late winter. I found out that this was going on because we had just switched to the new fertility specialist of CNY. And they're like, as soon as possible, you got to get this removed mainly because of the risk for another. Like we've been very careful to not get pregnant, which has also not been fun, but you can't risk it. We don't want to go through this again. And CNY told us because I've had 2, my chances for another ectopic are 80%.
What?
Yes. Especially when they found my tube in the condition that it was in. They're like, you are 80% chance to have another ectopic. You've got to get this tube out. And so second opinions I think are great because that's why we went to CNY. So glad we went to them. And so I took this information to my OB and she's like, yeah, you got to get this removed. And so I'm very grateful yet scared that to have it on June 11th, my surgery. So yeah. And my biggest fear is that they're going to get in there and see that my right tube is also damaged and like needs to be removed. But my husband and I at this time have decided we're just going to do the left, take some time, process whatever information they give us. And then if worst case scenario, got to get the right removed, we'll do it later. Cause I can't, that loses everything. Every opportunity is gone.
Right. I would hope that because of both of your HSGs and the dye has flowed through your right, I would hope that means they wouldn't have to.
Yes.
I think that's a good sign that the dye flowed through.
Yes. And I think my surgeon feels the same way. She feels like she goes, I think very likely both of your ectopics happen in your left based on what these imaging is showing. And what they think is that I probably have endometriosis, which causes like all this scarring and whatnot that an embryo is trying to attach to in the wrong places. My left tube probably got some damage from the first ectopic, but not enough to show on the first HSG. Had another ectopic in that same tube, most likely, or yes, it was found in the left tube, obviously, and just damaged it so bad that they're like, you gotta get it out. So they are hopeful, as you said, like the right tube, there's no reason to think that it's damaged because of the imaging. But she's like, just in case, are you okay with me taking it? And we're just like, no, we're not okay with you taking it because it looks so good. And it's very likely my first miscarriage, like the baby got through the right tube and implanted in my uterus. So that's what we're hoping is that is actually happening.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I probably would have done the same thing. Say no to that, just to have that glimmer of hope, you know?
Yes.
And plus you probably want more information before doing that. Maybe you could get some answers from the surgeon following.
Yes.
That could help figure out what to do next.
Yes, exactly. Because she even said tubes can heal. They can, but it takes a lot of time. And what I'm hopeful for, let's say this all works out, and I'm praying for that to be the case. I'm shocked that if you have one tube, most women don't miss ovulating. Like they continue to, when someone told me that, I was like, what? Like they're like, you're probably ovulating every single month. And it's an open system. So my right tube can pick up an egg from my left ovary.
Like, isn't that wild?
It's so wild.
Yeah.
And so hopeful.
No idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there, it's not, I think people automatically think, oh, your fertility is going to decrease by 50%, but that's just not the case.
Exactly. Yeah. Very encouraged by it. And my surgeon even said, like, I've not lost hope for you. I've had multiple women have multiple ectopics and they have to take their tube out and they go on to have healthy pregnancies. And that's the message for me and anyone listening to this. It has to go down to one tube. Like there's still hope.
There is. And I've interviewed women on this podcast who have gone on and had healthy babies or are currently pregnant. So
love that.
There's still a chance. Continue to be hopeful and positive, and I'm going to keep you in my thoughts. And I wrote down June 11th so that I can send you some love on that day. But, you're doing all of the right things. You're going to get through it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Of
it means
course.
a lot. Yeah.
What would you say to someone who has recently experienced an ectopic? Is there any coping mechanism that worked for you?
Yes. So the former fertility specialist I was with, the one thing that I love that they did was they provided me grief counseling for free. And I was very touched by that and had way more respect for them for that. I mean, just like so grateful. And I only had one session because it was so powerful. And she said, you've got to have a thing, a place, something to go to when you are grieving. And we have 3 bedrooms in this house that we bought. I use one of them as an office/grief room. And I go in there and I have a certain playlist that I listen to I only listen to when I'm thinking about the babies and my losses. And I have a journal. I love to journal. I highly recommend it for like, it just helps me process, like just get all these feelings and thoughts just down where it makes a little bit more sense and I'm a little bit more real. And that journal's only about what I've been through. Only this part of my journey. I don't add anything else to it. And I light a candle that's just about the babies and I just create space. Like, and sometimes I'm dragging myself there. Like I am like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to feel these things. I don't want to relive any of this, but yet it's there. And if I don't, it's going to get way worse. I'm just going to crumble. So I go to this grief room and whatever happens and I feel and am experiencing, I allow myself space to do so. And that's been the biggest help to me.
Yeah, that is great to hear. That's something I haven't heard before, is finding a space where you can go and feel your feelings, think of your babies or baby.
Yeah.
Create an environment where you feel comfortable to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Yeah, that is great.
Yeah. It's been a game changer.
Yeah. I definitely never created a space like that. And I also had a journal. I think it's right here. Yeah, I have this pink journal that I use to write all of my thoughts about the ectopic in. I actually don't have many pages because it just started to make me more sad versus I don't know. I just stopped writing in it, but I have that journal just with all of my ectopic thoughts in it.
Yeah.
And at the time I needed it. And it's just a great way to get all of your thoughts out.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Because otherwise, I mean, it's a release, but it's also a walking through that I feel of everything. And it's just a great way to, like I said, process and say the things that you feel like you wouldn't say out loud because no one else is looking at it. It's just you. So, yeah.
Was there anything else that you'd like to say?
Just thank you again, Kristen. Like, I mean, truly, this feels like such a small group of people, especially in my own life, that have gone through it. And so to make that community wider, to say I'm not alone and I can listen to these stories of other women and feel like, okay, I can understand and empathize and know that either someone else has gone through it or it's going to be okay in some way, shape, or form. And there's still hope. Like, I'm just so grateful for that. So, I mean, literally, thank you so much for even asking me to share. I'm very grateful. Yes.
Well, I'm grateful for you and your openness and vulnerability to share. You're going to help so many. I know you said when we were talking offline that you just want to help one person. You're going to help way more than one. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you for listening to the Ectopic Pregnancy Support Podcast. If you are looking for additional resources, head to ectopicpregnancysupport.com to learn more about my exclusive online support chat. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook. See you next time.